Hey friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to process video 244. It's been a long time since I've done just a solo process video, but I had printed off the National Scrapbooking Day free sketch at Scrapbook Generation, and I know that that was in May and it is now July, but oh well. I was really drawn to the sketch, especially with the right side where it has some circles, and I will try to make sure to link that in the description box below if you have not seen it already. Scrapbook Generation puts out some free sketches. It's a really great resource for free ideas, especially with sketches, and they do have a Facebook group. I used to belong to that. I say used to because I'm not really very active on Facebook anymore, but I know that it's still going on. And so anyways, going back to the layout, these are pictures, or the pictures that I'm going to scrapbook for this particular sketch will be the photos from my oldest graduation in 2021. So that was about a year ago, and the school colors were gold and blue. It's really yellow. I don't know why they would say gold because it's always just yellow and blue. But so that's what I'm trying to incorporate here. And I did purchase some graduation themed products last year. Or maybe it was a year before that. I don't know. But it was very close to the graduation because I knew that I was going to have graduation pictures because my son was going to graduate. So I purchased a pack from Hobby Lobby on the in their clearance section. I think it was like $10 regular price, and then I got it for like $2 for the whole pack. And then I also got some graduation stickers, and then I also purchased just a handful of papers at Scrapbook Generation, oh, maybe a year ago, and they're graduation themed. So I kind of am trying to mix them all together. Now, the goal at this point is that there's a block of pictures on the left, and I was trying to figure out what would be a good matte for it. Would it be the yellow or would it be the blue? Because then I will have to pick the blue. If I use yellow as the matting, the blue will be the background piece, and then vice versa. And then also in the sketch, they had strips of paper going on the left side. And so I'm just trying to figure out if they're all going to work. There's a lot of design and images in the papers, and as much as I like them all, I want it to also look cohesive, so I'm just trying to make sure that it's all gonna look good. And then I'm gonna end up creating a matting for all of my photos just to make sure that they all stand out. And like I said, I was drawn to the sketch because of the circles on the right side of the page. I normally, if you've been watching my videos for a while, you know that I tend to like, my comfort zone is rectangles and squares, just because it's easy to work with, right? But sometimes we forget that circles, triangles, and all those other types of shapes are also fun to incorporate. And so when I saw the circles, and it called for circle photos, which I haven't done in years, like years. And so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna kind of jump or step out of my comfort zone and try to see what I can come up with. So I have a lot of 3x4 photos here. I believe I have just one 4x6, and that is the landscape photo of basically the whole graduating class. This is the graduation right after COVID. The kids that graduated in 2020, you know, they didn't really have a graduation, and so this one was the modified one where we were outside, and we were in a field. So the kids were in a field, and then all of the parents or the guests will be in the bleachers. And so we were kind of far out there, but I am still very grateful that my kid got to walk for his graduation, because I know that some people, especially during the 2020 graduation season, most of them was not able to. So the photos that I have are not the same measurements as the sketch, but that's okay. I feel like when it comes to sketches, particularly with scrapbook generation sketches, I can modify them to fit the kind of photos that I have. And again, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I pretty much nowadays, I think it's been almost, I want to say, 5 or 6 years that I have been exclusively printing my photos 3x4, 4x6. Once in a while, I will do 2x3, but I don't do 5x7s anymore. Don't do 8x10s, those usual ones. So yeah, for the last 5 years or so, I have been exclusively printing my photos 3x4, 4x6, and 2x3s. And this was kind of a out of my comfort zone, but I wanted to use the sketch and just kind of do something different than what I normally do. So I actually ended up going with the blue as my background, but with the blue and then with all of the pattern papers that I wanted to put in there, it was just a little too chaotic. So I needed a buffer between that bold blue and all of the papers. And I decided to just use one of the papers from that graduation pack that I purchased at Hobby Lobby and use one of them as my white paper. I do this all the time, especially if it's just a single-sided paper and I don't care so much for the actual print on the paper, and that just saves me some white paper. And then I cut out the measurements for the papers as noted in the sketch. It does have a border on the top and the bottom of the paper strips, and so I'm just kind of laying it all out and seeing where it is all going to go. And then right before I adhere all of these paper strips, I am going to ink up the edges, and I was going to go with my normal brown, but again, the theme of this layout, or the theme of this process video, is stepping out of my comfort zone, or stepping out of my norm, I should say. And so I pulled out some blue ink instead of the brown, just to emphasize the colors that I wanted to pull. Now, like I said, these photos are of my son's graduation, and I I don't normally like dress my family in order to match a specific paper or theme or something like that, but I did with this particular one because in my head I knew exactly that I wanted to incorporate the school colors for the scrapbook layout. So I had my I had my husband and I dress up in kind of the mustardy yellow that is the kind of yellow that's used by the school for their colors. And then my son had the blue graduation gown that and it's in the color that the school uses. So I matched in my photos, which worked out really great because it just blended really well. Now I gotta say that the Paper Studio pack that I purchased just has a lot of black and whites, and the quality of the paper is not very good. So I am glad that I had purchased some of those single sheet papers from Scrapbook Generation. And if I'm not mistaken, they're like American Crafts and I think Simple Stories, I believe. Anyways, just single sheets. I don't even remember the collection that they're from. And oh, I take that back. It's not single, it's double-sided, but it is single sheets. I love that because they are double-sided, I was able to get the most out of the papers. So I had two designs instead of just one. So I'm just adding my 1/4 inch strip on the top and the bottom. I believe the strips are 1.5 inches or maybe 1.25 inches, but it's a little bit over 1 inch. And then I'm just going to line them up. Now, as you can see, I'm just adhering all of them first before I trim the whole piece, because that leftover side from this page is going to cross over to the right side of the page, just to, give that continuation. And so I'm just making sure that I adhered all of them first and then slowly rip them so that I can keep those spots or those little pieces and then match it to the right side. Now, the sketch called for a whole matting for the block that goes on the right. And because I was using the yellow to mat my photos on the left, I didn't cut it perfectly where I could have a perfect square to mat my paper. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of doctoring here and cutting up that little piece of yellow, and then I'm going to adhere this whole piece over that to make it look like the matting goes all around the page instead of like cut to the side. So I'm just making sure that I am even here. My T-square ruler is really saving me to make sure that it's all perfectly aligned as I had wanted it. And I also inked up that dot paper on the center of that yellow to make sure that it blends with the inking on the other side. Now I used my favorite things nested circle die and cut out 2 size circles. Most of the photos are going to be the smaller size circle, and then I also created a matting. Now some of the photos are the same size as the bigger circle. It just depended on the design of the sketch that I was following. And then because some of the papers that I had picked were a little too bold for my liking, especially with the idea that I had of, using that to house some of my embellishments, I decided to add a few circles of vellum as well, just to tone it down and it will have a good spot for my title. Now this is the part where I just figuring out where my journaling is going to be. I had pre-printed or typed and pre-printed my journaling on white cardstock, and I am just trying to figure out where it's going to go. I think the sketch, I don't have it in front of me, but I think the sketch called for the journaling to be in strips and it's kind of spread out onto the right side, but I had mine just a block, so I had to figure out how to better fix that. Now, there is that gap between those two vertical photos on the left, and so I decided that I would put the year of when he graduated and then also the high school that he went to, which is Rampart High School, and so that's RHS. And I tried to pick the colors that matched the colors that I already have on my layout. Now this particular sticker sheet actually is part of the graduation kit that I purchased from Hobby Lobby, and it had the stickers that are 3D, so I'm just going to add that. And the title will be Celebrate Hats Off to You. And I'm going to be just adding a few more of the accents here and there just to give it a little bit more design. Now, the only thing that's left of that sticker sheet is the word congrats, which I like. I really, nowadays, I like that I can go and use at least 3/4 of a sticker sheet. I am a happy scrapper if I can actually finish a whole sheet. Back then, when I just started scrapbooking, I didn't want to use all my stickers. I was saving them, but now it just makes me feel lighter when I finish off a sticker sheet. I don't know. Put it in the comment section below if you feel the same way or if you are still in the idea of hoarding supplies. I'm kind of past that. So if I can use as much product as I can on a layout, I'm all for that. Because then that's one less thing I have to hold on to, and we just have like one little piece here and there, and sometimes I forget what I have. So I'd rather just use them all up. And then this is basically the final part. I'm just adding some stickers. Oh, the sketch also called for some stitching because it is scrapbook generation. I'm guessing it was Allison Davis that created the sketch. And so there's some stitching on there. And I'm sure she had stitching on her sample layout because that's her thing. Now, I didn't want to bust out my sewing machine because I don't really do the sewing thing on my layout. So I'm going to do some pen stitching, and I'm going to be doing that all around this border and then call it good. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will have some close-up videos after this video or process, so stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. Make sure you hit that bell button so that YouTube will notify you when I have a new layout come out. And until then, happy scrapping. Bye.